Hello, I'm attorney Morrissey Fisher, and welcome to our YouTube channel. We invite everyone to subscribe to it. It's free and it has a lot of important and compelling information. Today's video, the mass Trump 2025 firings, and what do you do if you think you could be next? Now, let's be honest, you probably didn't think your career would be at the mercy of an administration that treats federal employees like a clearance sale. But nonetheless, here we are. And let's talk about options of what's going on and what you can do next. Well, one option could be to retire. And retirement certainly is, a lot of people are doing that, whether it's taking the package with the deferred resignation or simply retiring. Speaking of retirement, we've all heard by now about the lunacy in Boyers, Pennsylvania. That's Western Pennsylvania. And of course, I'm talking about OPM that can only process 10,000 retirements a year because all of the paperwork is done literally by hand on forms, not computerized, I should say. I mean, that's just absolutely insane. There's also an elevator that sometimes is slow or breaks. And you take all of these incredible inefficiencies, and this is what you're kind of coming to. And it's the type of thing where it's like I have a parallel case with the MSPB, so to speak. And it's a case where my client won about a year ago, and she still hasn't been paid all of the proper amounts to restore her back pay, TSP, and interest. And of course, the agency doesn't take any responsibility. They blame the National Finance Center, the NFC. They're the ones I keep on hearing who are responsible for these payments. And they haven't been doing them correctly. And you have to think to yourself, well, are they located in a mine shaft also? I mean, like some of the problems is just ridiculous. Okay. Like number one, yes, my client was a GS-14 step 5. She gets her back pay. Terrific. But NFC uses the wrong fiscal year to give her the back pay. And she shortchanged thousands of dollars because of that. And we had to file a brief to get that money. The interest wasn't calculated properly. Therefore, it wasn't paid properly. And to this day, there are still interest payments that have not been made to her. And then the TSP payments weren't made properly. And remember this, if you're a federal employee, you lose your job and you get reinstated, if you were putting money away into your TSP account from your paycheck, direct deposit, however it was, you're entitled to that. You're entitled to basically have the agency restore those TSP payments so you don't have to pay tax on them right now. And also, you're entitled to the match. I think in this case, it was 4%. So none of this was done correctly by the agency. The judge finally had enough of this and said, look, I'm most likely, he didn't say how he was going to rule, but it sounds like from everything I heard, he's going to issue a sanction against the agency to get all of this corrected. So whether it's OPM, NFC, I mean, we're seeing a lot of inefficiencies in the federal government. And the question that leaped off the page for me when I heard about the mine shaft was, why didn't anybody report this? Like, why didn't anybody blow the whistle on this? Why didn't anyone say, look, this is crazy. This is gross mismanagement, okay, which by definition is a management action or inaction that creates a substantial risk of significant adverse impact on the agency's ability to accomplish its mission. Or waste, which has an expenditure that is significantly out of proportion with the benefit reasonably expected to accrue to the government. Okay, these are classic definitions of what these things are. Why did it take Elon Musk's team to discover this and other gross inefficiencies that they've uncovered, and love them or hate them, they're finding stuff. And this thing with the mine shaft really blew away a lot of people. They couldn't believe it. And there's a couple of answers that I can think of. Number one, who would know about this? Okay, I think there was something like 700 people working there. And are they going to end their jobs by reporting this? Okay, are they going to say, look, we only need actually like 40 or 50 jobs, not 700 to do this? Who's going to do that? And then number two is kind of a cousin of number one. For the one honest person who does blow the whistle, for the one federal employee who really cares and says, listen, I want to make this thing efficient. And there are many, many dedicated federal employees out there. My office has represented hundreds of them over the years, if not thousands. And unfortunately, it's the ones that care that really get the shaft, so to speak, in any sort of reporting of waste, fraud, or abuse. But think about it. If you're the federal employee who does report this, how popular do you think you're going to be with everybody around you? Okay, not very popular, particularly if they find out and you're now seeing a motive for retaliation. And I think this kind of sort of dovetails into the next segment here of, we talked yesterday about the 25-year-old or the 20-year-old who's interviewing everybody, how to make your agency more efficient, and what exactly do you do here, and whether you're at FEMA, the EPA, NOAA, chances are really good you're going to be facing one of these people. And what I would do is I would not only go through what it is you do, I'd point out the waste and fraud, if there is fraud, or just mismanagement that you've seen. And I'd say something like, here's what I do. I'd go through it, and in my 20 years here, I've noticed X, Y, and Z problem, and no one's ever addressed it. And the one person who I think addressed it ended up getting terminated or getting suspended or having his or her career ruined. Okay, at this point, you want to think about, in some way, kind of sort of joining the revolution here. Because this is what these people are going to remember. They're going to say, listen, I interviewed some guy in whatever it was, unit 14, component 26, and here's what he told me. Okay, and all those fancy organizational charts with all the wonderful acronyms. Okay, Elon Musk and his team, they're not really looking at those that much. Okay, they're going to look at just hierarchy. This guy does this manager does this direct report does that. Who can do all these things more efficiently? How can we get it done with fewer people? And you've got to believe that, love them or hate them, if you think the thing is wasteful that you want to report, chances are pretty good Musk and his team are probably going to find it. And you want to report that before they find it. Okay, now without getting political here, and I make it a point not to get political, which is hard to do when you represent federal employees under the Trump administration, but at the risk of getting political, okay, yesterday on the news, you're taking a look at some of these rallies with some of these congressmen, and they're using the F-bomb, and we have to F Trump, and so on and so forth. And I'm sure that might be very, very popular with their constituencies back home. I'm sure the guy from New Jersey has a bunch of people that are like, yes, give it to him, go, great. Now, I certainly understand if you're not only a federal employee, you're some sort of union person, and you have to be there at these rallies, and you have a lot invested in that. I certainly respect you. And I think that's a wonderful thing that you're doing. And if you can save some jobs doing that, God bless you. That's wonderful. Okay. But if you're not in that scene at all, and you're just some regular federal employee who's trying to make a living for his or her family, you got to really ask yourself, is going to one of those things and being seen with these people who are yelling F Trump, is that really going to help you save your job. Okay, you've got to believe that on some level, somebody may be watching this. Okay, and you may be better off getting ready for the interview with the younger kid and not only having a plan for saving your job, but how to make the agency more efficient. That might be something that would help you keep your job. And in addition, you might actually be counted still in the current state of the law as a whistleblower. I have heard from some of my clients that agencies have been instructed now to provide reorganization plans for reductions in force. How big of a reduction will that be? Well, there's very little organization right now that's gone on so far. And if you think about it, I mean, let me ask you this question. Have you had an experience where you had to break up with like a boyfriend or a girlfriend and you were so angry about it, so upset, whatever the final straw was, it was basically, look, I just need you to get the hell out of here. Okay. When you pick up your stuff or who's going to do whatever you were doing or however this was working, we'll figure it out later. Okay. But right now, you got to get out of here. Okay. So if you think about it, that's kind of sort of what the Trump administration is doing. They've made a decision, and their decision is without even really studying this unit in its entirety. Okay. We have to eliminate a certain number of federal jobs. That's the end result. And we'll worry about who's going to do the work later, who's going to be accountable for it, how the work's going to get done. That's all kind of sort of a work in progress. But the bottom line is that there are instructions, this is now in the news, that have gone out where that is what these agencies are going to have to do. If you think you're next, what you want to do, certainly if you're presented with one of those severance or deferred resignations, and as we stand here today, the last I heard is that they're still on the table. Obviously, those things are going to come with an agreement. That's what a number of people have told me. You're going to want that agreement to be reviewed by an attorney. And certainly we are here to help. That is what we do.